Tonight we're having a couple of friends over, so I thought I would do an interesting themed menu. So I've come up with a Cal Asian menu. We'll be starting with my Asian butterfish with black garlic, shiitake, and ginger. I'll pair that with my sesame broccoli salad, a delicious Asian-inspired salad filled with antioxidants and tons of flavor. For dessert, my berry ice, my favorite go-to quick and easy dessert that's yummy and low in calories. Whenever I do a dinner party, I like to start with dessert first because dessert is the most fun. So I'm going to get started with my berry ice. We're going to start with about 6 cups of frozen organic mixed berries. Easiest thing in the world. You just open the package. I'm going to put it into my food processor. Let's scrape out every single little berry because this is so yummy. You'll want to eat the entire thing. I'm going to give that a quick whiz in the food processor. You just want to break it up into small pieces of fruity ice, essentially. Now that looks just yummy. Just going to scrape down my food processor a little bit. Now we're going to add 3/4 of a cup of lime juice, about 1/2 cup of brewed hibiscus tea. Hibiscus tea is great for you. It has actually been proven that it lowers blood pressure. So if you have a blood pressure issue, it's good to drink lots of it. And I'm adding about 3/4 teaspoon of stevia. So we're not adding any added sugar to these berries, and that keeps the calorie count really low. One more quick spin. That looks just fantastic. I could just dive right in. Now we're going to just remove the bowl, and I'm going to place my finger in the hole underneath to hold that blade in. And I'm actually going to scrape it into a container. You could actually serve it right at this moment and you'd have sort of a soft serve texture. But I'm going to pop it into the freezer and let it set just a little bit. Pop a lid on, and into the freezer it goes. Now let's get started with the sesame broccoli salad. I've got about 1.5 pounds of broccoli, and I am just going to cut it up. I'm going to remove the florets here. Just kind of break them up into a bowl. And yes, we're going to use more than just the tops of this beautiful broccoli, because most of the vitamin C is actually in the stem. Now when it comes to this stem, I'm going to remove the end and get myself really stable on my work surface and just slice down the sides of the stem, leaving the inner core, which has a lot of fiber and quite a bit of vitamin C. So I'm going to use that kind of like a water chestnut. Now I'm just going to place my bowl of broccoli next to my stove where I already have a pot of salted water starting to boil. Now let's get to my pepper. I'm just going to run my knife down the side of the core of the pepper, just like that. And I'm going to take off the bottom as well and get rid of the core. I'm going to cut out the white pithy parts of the center that are left over. And I'm just going to give them a slice through, just thin slices. going to pop them into a bowl. Additionally, I have about a cup of grated carrots. I bought them already grated, so it's super simple, and a cup of water chestnuts. Now I'm going to get started with my sesame dressing. I'm going to start with a couple of tablespoons of honey ginger white balsamic, a half a cup of toasted sesame oil, a couple of tablespoons of tahini, which is a sesame seed paste, just a couple of tablespoons of vegetable broth that'll give the dressing a nice viscosity, about a teaspoon of dried ginger, a little bit of salt, about a quarter teaspoon or so, and a couple of shakes of hot sauce. I'm going to use only a little bit because ghost pepper chilies are hot. Now I'm just going to set this aside while we cook up some broccoli. Now my pot of water is boiling away, so to it I'm just going to carefully add my broccoli. Give it a little stir. Now the trick to this is to bring it back to a boil and then wait 3 minutes. And you will have perfectly cooked broccoli. Now I'm going to transfer the broccoli from the pot to an ice water bath to stop the cooking. And keep the broccoli nice and tender crisp. Now I'm just going to strain it and we're going to assemble our salad. I've cooled and drained the broccoli, so I'm going to add it to my salad bowl. And now we're just going to toss in the rest of our ingredients. The water chestnuts, the red pepper that we sliced, the grated carrots, and here we have about a tablespoon of sesame seeds. I'm just going to give that a toss through. Beautiful colors. Now I'm going to add our sesame dressing. This is so yummy. The sesame and the ginger together, oh, out of this world. I'm going to give that a nice toss to make sure that all of the ingredients are mixed together. And every single morsel is coated with that delicious dressing. Just going to give it another little sprinkle of sea salt. One more toss through. I'm not going to do pepper because I put a lot of that ghost pepper sauce into the dressing. Now I'm just going to set this aside while I get started with the rest of our meal. To put together the Asian butterfish, we're going to start by making the poaching liquid. I've got here about 3 cups of green tea, unsweetened. I'm just going to pour it into my poaching pan. About a half a cup of cream sherry that's going to give it a lovely little extra sweetness. About a half a teaspoon of ground ginger. And about a half a teaspoon of sea salt. Just going to put this right on the stove, cover it, and bring it to a simmer for our fish. Next, I'm going to do a little bit of preparation. I'm going to slice about 10 ounces of shiitake mushrooms. I've taken the stems off of the mushroom caps because the stems are a little bit woody and tough. Just going to give them a slice through and add them to a prep bowl. I'm just going to place the mushrooms next to the stove because that's where the action's going to happen. Now I've got a couple of green onions and they're just going to be used for garnish, but I'm going to get them prepared now so I'm ready when we're ready to serve. I'm just going to run my knife down the green onion lengthwise, then lay them on the flat side and do it one more time. And I'm going to cut them in half diagonally and just put them in my bowl. Those are going to be nice little toppings for my pieces of fish. Run my knife lengthwise and then cut them in half diagonally. Now I'm going to prep my sauce. It's going to happen all in the blender. I'm going to start with a cup of seafood stock. Now you can make your own seafood stock. You can find out how to do it right on my website. It is very, very easy to do. And I always have some in my freezer. I have about 3/4 of a cup of cream sherry I'm going to add to the blender. About a teaspoon of tamarind concentrate. This is liquid tamarind concentrate. It is a little bit tangy and has a wonderful Asian flavor. A couple of tablespoons of toasted sesame oil. A couple of teaspoons of dried ginger, about a half a teaspoon of white pepper, a couple of teaspoons of arrowroot. That is going to act as our thickener. When you use arrowroot, always put it into cold liquid. So doing this in the blender is perfect for arrowroot. Now I have 8 cloves of Korean black garlic. Black garlic is a beautiful thing. It is fermented, so you could actually pop it into your mouth and eat it. It has wonderful tones of chocolate and tamarind. It's just mild and beautiful. And it's almost like a roasted garlic. So when I put it into this blender, it's just going to melt away. This is about a whole head. It's going to be just yummy. Just going to turn it on and give it a quick spin. Now I'm just going to place it by the stove because that's where we're going to cook it all up. Now my poaching liquid is simmering away, so I'm just going to start adding my sable fish fillets to the poaching liquid. I'm going to cover it and let it simmer for about 5 minutes or until it's just barely opaque. Now our fish is done, so I'm just going to transfer it to a clean plate. I will tint it with foil, and we're going to get started on our mushrooms and sauce. Now I've dumped my liquid out and dried out my pan, tinted my fish, so now let's get started with the mushrooms. I'm going to add a couple of teaspoons of toasted sesame seed oil to the pan. Give that a little swirl around. It's nice and fragrant. And add to the pan my shiitake. I'm just covering the entirety of the pan with the shiitake, and I'm just going to let them sit for a minute and brown on one side. So I'm just going to give them a little bit of a stir now that I see that they're browning. Now to the pan, I'm going to add my sauce that we whisked up in the blender. Going to give that a nice stir around the pan. And it's already beginning to thicken and get nice and silky. To the pan, I'm going to slide in my fish. And I'm going to pour in the liquid that has accumulated in the bottom of the plate. Now the fish is essentially cooked, so I'm just going to cover it and let it warm through. Now we're ready to plate. I'm going to start with the Asian butterfish. A nice piece on the plate. Lots of yummy shiitake. Just going to cover that butterfish with shiitakes. And of course, sauce. And of course, salad. Beautiful color. Lots of flavor. And a ton of crunch. And last but not least, a little garnish for our fish. All of those pretty green onions that we sliced up are now coming into play. It smells absolutely delicious. And guess what? It's nutritious too. So I'm going to go put this on the table for our Cal Asian main course. My Asian butterfish with black garlic, shiitake, and ginger has only 381 calories, offering you 15 grams of protein and 1,652 milligrams of essential omega-3 fatty acids, plus 68% of the recommended daily allowance for selenium. My sesame broccoli salad has only 248 calories with a whopping 5 grams of protein and 4 grams of fiber, plus 207% of the recommended daily allowance for vitamin C. The wine that I have chosen is Tulip Hills 2010 Reserve Chardonnay. This 100% Chardonnay is fermented and stirred in French and Hungarian oak, which imparts rich, creamy, buttery vanilla undertones, followed by bright flavors of Fuji apples, lychee fruit, and rich stone fruit, which will pair beautifully with my Asian butterfish with black garlic, shiitake, and ginger. Now for dessert, our berry ice. I've just pulled this out of the freezer. Just gonna pop the top off and portion out a couple of beautiful rosy red scoops. You're allowed to be a little generous with this because it's so incredibly low in calories. Now, for a little something extra special, I'm going to drizzle on some dark chocolate balsamic vinegar. This is sweet and delicious and a perfect replacement for chocolate sauce. I'll top it off with just a little sprig of spearmint to make my guests feel extra special. Off to the table it goes. My favorite course, dessert. My berry ice has only 78 itty-bitty little calories with 6 grams of fiber and 84% of the recommended daily allowance for vitamin C. With our dessert, I have chosen to pair Tulip Hills 2008 Whisper Dessert Wine. This wine is a blend of Chardonnay, Syrah, Cabernet, and Merlot. Whisper Dessert Wine is a fortified brandy made with Tulip Hill's own grapes. This wine was a very special bottling, named after Jeff Brown, the vineyard manager, who Tulip Hill has nicknamed the Grape Whisperer.